Let the magic rise.
You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Way! Oh, hold on. Okay, all right. We had a bit of dead air, didn't we? I think we had some dead air there, and I apologize. It's not my fault. It's somebody's fault, but it's not my fault. I'm not sorry. No, I'm not sorry. It's not the right thing to be sorry, is it? No. Okay. So, yeah, and we're going to have a show, but we had a bit of a problem connecting to the server tonight. So, just give us cut us a bit of slack, and we'll get there, and we'll crack into another fabulous show. And Gary, I suppose you are there. Yeah, might as well.
I am here. Yes.
Hey, that's cool. Okay, and out of interest, have we got our guest, Nicholas Barker?
Hello.
Okay. Well, hey, whoa, hey, yeah.
This is London calling.
Oh, no.
My family and I.
Hey, folks. Welcome to Jingly-Jangly. Fake news and imaginary views for the post-truth society. Yes, your antidote to reality with me, Olly Connolly in Europe land. Jingly's voice of America, Gary Branson in California. Big cheers to Mona Radler and to all the folks here at the Rev. And now, barking mad. Because it's a mad, mad world. And it's all seems so full throttle or pretty hectic. So we've got mind mechanic Nick Barker talking down stress and talking up mindfulness. And we've got chickens. And we've got Gary. No, that wasn't Gary. Gary, hello, mate. Oh, God. Hello. Have we got Gary?
We've got Gary.
We have got Gary.
We have.
Yeah, well, that was the best intro so far.
Definitely. I think somehow we managed to get last week's broadcast in there somehow. I have no idea that was some magic technology work we've got going on this week. We are awesome.
How are you? How's the basement,
Good. Gary? Oh, the basement's good. I think really the problem with what just happened is the Russians hacked us.
Probably.
That
Yeah.
is absolutely what happened. It was the Russians.
Yeah. We could put it down to the Russians.
At least if you're New Hampshire Democratic Senator Jeanne Shaheen in the U.S. Senate telling us that we need to consider whether Russia's cyber hacking during the U.S. presidential election was an act of war.
Who is this guy? Some senator.
She is the Democratic senator from New Hampshire.
Right.
And it's
right.
Yeah, she's
and she's got evidence. They've all got evidence, haven't they?
She's asking the question of whether we should consider whether the Russia hacking was an act of war, because clearly the Democratic Party has become the new Republican Party.
I'll tell you what, the world's full of nutters.
From the war, it's crazy.
That's like that McCain bloke. He's kind of gung-ho like that. Lindsey Graham is the worst, no? He hasn't even said that about the Russian thing, has he? I mean, they haven't even got any evidence, have they? It's just such a smokescreen. I mean, it's just a joke. You know what? Who cares? The fact is that all countries spy on other countries if they can. And the US was caught by Angela Merkel, for crying out loud, and had to apologize. I mean, it's just,
Well, I mean, Hillary Clinton was on tape saying that we should not have encouraged Palestine to have free elections. And if we were going to do that, we should have interfered with them to make sure that it went the way we wanted it to go.
That's
and
right.
This was
yeah.
the Democratic candidate for president that almost won.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was just watching some Al Jazeera actually on the telly. They were showing the slant, the news slant, pro-Israel and anti-Palestine, and the way the news conjures it, and the kind of the mainstream press. I mean, I would have said Al Jazeera is pretty mainstream, but it's Qatari owned, isn't it? And they certainly look at things from a different perspective. And this was really showing how, at the same time that there's so much Palestinian land been grabbed and being lived on by Israelis that really don't have any business on that land. On the other hand, as soon as that's talked about, the word terrorism comes up, and they were actually showing how Middle America in this documentary, they reckon that Middle America, when they would listen to the Palestinian side about the land and what have you, that they'd go back to the sort of the 67 borders, that they kind of were. Yeah, they kind of had sympathy for that. But then when the question turned into, but the Israeli side is that we're trying to protect ourselves, it's terrorism, we're getting bombs thrown at us, stuff like that, then it's, okay, we're going to support you. So it goes to show, doesn't it? We've got Nicholas Barker on tonight, Gary, and he's going to be talking to us a bit about mind control. And this is a different form of mind control. He's going to be talking about mindfulness, but he knows a thing or two about mind control generally. But I mean,
controlling your own mind, I assume.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's like the telly, isn't it, Gary? I mean, for example, they don't call it programming for nothing, do they? It's just
that's true. Yeah,
it's a crazy.
You mentioned Al Jazeera, and one of my favorite sayings about Al Jazeera is, CNN shows the rockets taking off. Al Jazeera shows where they land. That's the difference in perspective between Western news and Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera goes and finds the downside to all this militarism. So that's one thing I like about them.
What else is going on, Gary? What else is going on this week?
Oh, Dr. Ben Carson is talking again.
Oh, yeah, U.S. presidential candidate, hopeful bloke.
Who is currently the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development.
Oh, yeah.
Because you know that if you want to have an inclusive administration, you put the black guy in charge of urban development because he's a brain surgeon, which means he's a smart person.
Yeah. Smart.
Except that this week,
ticks the boxes.
Dr. Ben Carson described American slaves as involuntary immigrants with a dream. Mm-hmm. Describing them as having come over here, working for less, no minimum wage. These slaves brought over in chains in the belly of slave ships. He even mentioned that they were brought over in the bottom of slave ships to work for less than minimum wage. Like way less, as in zero.
I think so. Yeah. They got bread and board. That was about it.
And whipping and rapes and
they got that too.
Taken away from them.
They got quite a bit of that.
But they were given food. They got rice and maybe a chicken on Christmas.
Yeah, and they had their culture stolen. So hold on, why did he say that?
Why did he say that?
Yeah, why did he say what was the context?
He was talking about where's the hang on. He was giving a speech somewhere and talking about getting rid of the minimum wage and talking about how noble these slaves who came over with a dream for their grandchildren to have a life of prosperity, and just this guy and everyone in the Trump administration. They are all like this.
What are you saying? They want to get rid of the minimum wage? Is that the deal?
Oh yeah, yeah. They've wanted to get rid of the minimum wage for decades. They never wanted to have one.
Well, okay, Gary, tell me. I keep seeing these stories about burger joints primarily, but all sorts of places that are filling up jobs, regular jobs, but minimum wage jobs with robots, or they're they're getting close to doing it. And places like, I read a story just today about a burger place. They've now invented a robot that can flip a burger.
Okay.
And they're talking about having entirely autonomous burger joints, apart from maybe a manager or something. I mean, it's just incredible. It's just mad, mate. It's mad. And the minimum wage is being blamed on the minimum wage partly because a lot of these places that have seen their profit basically halve or what have you, and it's a tight economy. I don't know, but there's another argument to this. No, there's another argument to say that the minimum wage is actually I don't know. I mean, we're going towards automation anyway, aren't we, or whatever?
We are shifting towards automation as we get better at making robots.
The minimum wage, you could argue, is a red herring. It's like it's not actually necessarily the going to be relevant.
Say what you're actually trying to say, Ollie. I don't understand what you're saying.
Sorry. It's the minimum wage could be irrelevant if robots go the full way to basically taking all of our jobs.
And
I mean, you
we
think
could
about
make
it.
that happen.
The number of jobs now that are at risk. So we've just covered the fast food industry, yeah. So that's, I don't know, however many millions of jobs there. I'll give you another one. Cabs, taxi drivers. We're not going to need any of them within 5 years. All cars on the road are going to be, but anything they're selling in 5 years from now is going to be
trucking companies. They're all going to be all of it.
Exactly.
So now
it's a massive work.
Yeah, we're going to have to, as a society, like everyone in the world, I mean, we're going to have to rethink economics on a very profound level because of robotics.
We're not going to have any income. We're not going to have a salary, and we're not going to be able to pay any tax to be able to, I mean, how on earth are social systems going to be maintained? It's just
we're
impossible.
Going to have to we're going to have to have a fundamental rethinking of our concept of what is an economy and what kind of economy are we going to want to have, and are we going to keep going down the path that we are toward basically modern feudalism with a few great and powerful lords and a bunch of serfs to serve them, or to just be ground into the dust and turned into fertilizer for crops for these lords, which will inevitably lead to uprising, revolution, and execution of everybody in charge, as we've seen on numerous times in past history.
Oh, dear.
I mean, even Nick...
Oh, you painted a lovely picture, mate.
Well, here's the thing. If we do it right, we can have ourselves a golden age of prosperity for everybody, because we'll all have more leisure time than we used to have because everything is automated.
We'll all have sex robots.
Or
maybe sex chickens. Sorry.
Oh, hey, now you're talking. Now you're talking.
Okay, enough of this. Okay, this is basically a disaster. We're talking dystopia again, and so no better time than to introduce our guest. We've got a bit of a stress doctor on today, Nicholas Barker, who's a life and mind coach specializing in mindfulness, NLP, and he'll tell us what that is because I am, and hypnotherapy to help people change their thinking and therefore change their life. And,
NLP, wasn't that the guy who played Doogie Howser?
There you go, Nick.
NLP, wasn't that the guy who played Doogie Howser?
Doogie Howser, mate.
Good evening, both.
Good evening.
That was Neil Patrick Harris. Anyhow, hi Nick, how are you?
Really,
Hey Nick,
I'm really,
how are
really
you,
well.
mate?
I'm very well, thanks. How are you guys?
Good. Yeah.
Interesting
Great.
chat you're having there.
Yeah, no,
Very,
I'll tell you, I was
mindful
about to.
we
You know,
are.
I think the whole,
Yeah.
like retirement forever because of robots taking over is an interesting subject in terms of, what happens to us mind-wise as that takes hold. Because there's a really sort of...
It's on the way.
Yeah, it's definitely on the way. There's I can't remember the exact statistic, but the statistics for a lot of folks who, they live this life of 40 years working at a desk in a job, paying their taxes, earning a salary, going in their bank, having a holiday once a year, and they hit 65 in retirement and they don't have that purpose in inverted commas anymore. A lot of people die within the first 5 years of retirement because they've lost this purpose
what is it
in life. So
that movie with Morgan Freeman in the prison, Independence Day.
Redemption.
the Shawshank.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes,
Shawshank
Independence
Redemption.
Day.
Yeah. No, not Independence Day. What was it? He said, I've become institutionalized. He said, and that's it. That's it. People become sheeple, actually.
Yeah.
Nick?
Yeah.
Well, most
Yeah,
people start out that way. Actually, no. They start out very mindful because they're babies and they haven't been programmed to become sheeple. And then they just get slapped down by people who don't want to be bothered by them so much that eventually they adopt that mindset as a self-defense mechanism. I think.
Yeah, that's right. And peer pressure as well.
Yeah.
Well, you think about, when we see, because we're not aware of our own very, very early childhood upbringing, most of us were not conscious of it. But if you think about looking at the way other people bring up their children, you got like the celebratory first poo, or the celebratory first time, the first time they go and sort of use the toilet in an adult fashion is celebrated nearly as much as when they ride a bike and balance on a bike for the first time. But then
Do you remember your first poo?
No, I don't.
I still have mine. I saved it. It's been bronzed. It's on my fireplace.
You pickled it.
We're kind of encouraged, I think, to sort of do anything and be anything at a very early age, but very, very soon into life, we're then sort of told, no, maybe you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that. You mustn't do that. We're a blank canvas when we're born. No one's born a racist. You have to be taught that. And a lot of what I deal with when I'm sort of dealing with and helping clients is a lot of learnt behaviour, but it's behaviour that's been played out time and time and time again, and the same pathway's gone down. That the language that they use about themselves is more of the case. Well, it's like they can't imagine anything different. They can't see a way out of reacting the same unhelpful way to the same stimuli. But there is a way, because the mind can be reprogrammed to think in different ways and not go down the old unhelpful pathways. And that's
it can be painful, though, can't it?
Yeah,
it can be very painful. I mean, there's a lot of what's going on at the moment is, well, I mean, it's truth. We had so much change in 2016, didn't we? It was incredible, unbelievable. It seems actually now. I was just thinking, Gary, this week has been quiet. It actually has been the quietest news week I can remember for a long time. And we even had a vote in the Lords about Brexit and stuff like that. But this actually was a relatively quiet week. But no wonder people are in a pickle, Nick.
Except
Go on,
that
Gary. Sorry.
The House of Representatives just passed out of committee their plan to repeal Obamacare and throw 10 million people off of their insurance. So not that slow a news week. But yeah, there's...
Well, yeah, that's pretty big. But I mean, come on, Obamacare is screwed anyway. I mean, again, it comes back down to the same thing. You can't afford it for the same reason that, pretty much we're going into a sort of a roboticized world and all that. And employers can't afford minimum wage, probably, a lot of them.
Oh, it's complete hooey. That is no.
It depends on the employer.
Remotely accurate.
No, maybe not.
Seattle,
maybe not.
In the Seattle area, they instituted a $15 minimum wage. Like, bam, $15 now. None of this increasing slowly over the next 5 years thing. They just said, all right, it's $15 now. And the restaurant industry is booming and expanding. Minimum wage is nothing other than good for the local economy and everybody involved, because the money will still eventually be hoovered up to the wealthy and powerful. But if we start off with more of it at the bottom, then it gets to circulate around more and create more economic growth before eventually working its way up to the Rothschilds.
Gary, do you know what the problem is?
The problem with what?
Do you know what it is? Do you know what the problem is?
The problem?
Yeah.
I don't know. Your mama? What question are you asking?
China.
Yeah. This is the problem. This is the problem.
China. You take China.
Yeah, China. Anyway, China. Apparently, it's no. I don't know. There's so many problems. There are so many problems. Okay, so Nick, you're in Switzerland. What you? No, I have a confession to make. I know Nick. I've known Nick for 30 odd years, 20 years. I don't know, too long. And you didn't used to live in a nice place.
No, I used to live in London.
Well, you live in the Alps now, and you spend half of your life skiing, and I don't know, the rest of the time, I don't know, looking in fancy boutiques or what do you do with yourself? Is this supposed to be a better way to live or something?
Yeah, I like the mountain air. I find I can make my life work from here.
So are all your clients kind of, sexy, kind of 40, mid-40s, kind of dissatisfied housewives?
Mountain goats? Sexy mid-40s, dissatisfied mountain goats?
Different kind of business model you're talking there, Ollie, I think.
Okay. So you de-stress beautiful alpine women.
Sometimes.
Nice
terrible.
Work if you can get it.
Yeah. But should we talk about mindfulness?
Yeah. Okay. So what do you teach them?
I'm not sure that mindfulness is something we do on this show.
I don't know.
Anyhow, go ahead.
Gary, I thought we needed to try this.
It could not hurt. It could only help us.
Yeah. So. It can only help. It's funny playing the China Trump YouTube collective thing there. That's kind of if the word isn't China, then that kind of repetitive word is what's going on in a lot of people's heads.
Yeah.
Because they're caught up in the news. You were talking about earlier, it's not been a big news week, and then you, Gary, were saying, oh, hold on a minute, they've been repealing Obamacare and getting rid of that.
That is pretty big.
It is big, but it's not that big over here. I've not seen any. I mean, I don't.
But it's the equivalent of them saying that about the NHS, which would be. I think
sometimes to get a perspective on how really important the news is that we're choosing to watch, you just have to look at some news stories from somewhere outside your normal sphere, and it just immediately seems irrelevant. You know, if you could understand the headline papers in the local Thai Gazette or whatever, you know, it doesn't have any relevance for you because it's outside your normal sphere. Yet to them, they'll be getting as agitated and as anxious and as caught up in it and into the fight-flight response, you know, and just sort of doing this perpetual stress that there is in modern life because it's relevant to them, or because they choose to keep reading it and keep getting involved with the narrative, which is always, whichever news avenue you go down in mainstream media, exceptionally narrow. And if you keep feeding yourself that, you will keep getting stress response to it. And that, you know,
well, it's called programming, isn't it? It is. I mean, it is.
Yeah, years and years ago, you know, when we were stood on a savannah or something, and a lion came out of the bushes, you know, we'd have a genuine fight-flight response, and you know, in a fight-flight response, your circulation goes
genuine. Oh, fight, flight.
You know, you're either going to fight the lion or you're going to fight. You're going to run away.
Yeah. So you shot it
before we had guns. But
well, I would actually have a want to pet it response, but maybe I'm just weird.
You'd have short arms. But you know, when that fight-flight response is genuine and needed, like it is in such a situation where a lion suddenly appears out of nowhere and he's hungry and a lot faster and a lot more strong than you are, you know, that fight-flight response.
You don't get that in the Alps, though, do you?
Well, you may do.
You get mountain lions.
No, you don't get mountain lions out here. You get marmots. They're not really that scary, and they only come out in the summer. But in a proper fight-flight response, your circulation goes into overdrive. Your blood thickens in readiness to clot fast. Your metabolic rate goes up to burn in the internal fuel that you've got quicker in case you need a burst of energy to either do the fight with the lion or take flight and run. And you start to sweat because your metabolic rate has gone up. The blood is diverted away from the skin and the gut, so the gut shuts down, and the blood gets sent off to the muscles because they're expecting to have to do a lot of work. And actually, from an attention point of view and a mindfulness point of view, in that situation, you are very present moment. You're not thinking about whether you're going to top up your pension at the end of the year. You're just very much focused on what's happening in the moment. And that's because you need to see where the threat is, and you need to be aware of the possible escape routes. So that in that situation, that's an activation response rather than a stress response. Will be faster and stronger and have more endurance than normal to escape this real threat. And this activation response in such circumstances is designed to switch on only so often and then switch off as soon as it's not required. And if we do that from time to time, it can be the difference between life and death. But the thing is, in modern life, so much.
So that's what we need to do before we put the news on.
Is what be confronted by a lion?
No, that's like that was useful. That fight-flight response, that metabolic physiological response that I just talked about there, was useful in evolutionary history to get us to this point of us all talking on this radio show together. It was a difference between life and death. But the point I want to make is that in modern life.
Well, I hope it was worth it.
We
anyway,
there are so many stresses and anxieties about what might or might not happen, or what could result as a result of so and so doing this or not on the news, or reliving past events over and over, or doing our own China in our head.
China, yeah. I thought that was a loot then. I didn't realise that was you. I thought, what's going on? Sorry.
Those threats are imagined. They're not in the moment. And if we're not mindful about that, then our physiological system religiously just goes into the same fight-flight response, and that is unhealthy. And that's where anxiety and panic attacks come from. That's where a lot of this stressed out syndrome comes from. That's why more and more people are taking time off with stress. That's not to say because the challenges that they face at work aren't real, but you can kind of develop a skill of choosing how you react to those stresses.
How much?
Mindfulness is a good way of doing that.
How much do you think people are stressed out by geopolitics as opposed to their regular day, which obviously is they're yeah. Well, I mean, how much do you think people are stressed out by what's going on in Syria and the resulting refugee crisis off the back of a place like there and Libya and terrorist atrocities going on in places like Paris? And how much do you think people are stressed out by that as opposed to the things that directly affect them, which may well be actually the same things as well, but things that affect them directly are affecting them in different ways, indirectly perhaps. But what do you reckon, Nick? How much of how aware are people, and how much of a stress factor is that for people? I ask you because in the activist community, it's people talk about this, about getting on the learning curve of kind of the way things really are, run and what have you. It's when if you were particularly naive, as were the vast majority of us, it's really quite depressing, and it can be quite difficult to handle. So I just wonder, you tell me.
Well, some of the clients I see are stressed for those very reasons about what's happening in the news, about the Paris bombings that happened whenever it was.
The Batalan Club.
Yeah. The stress comes from what, if that happened there, then what if it happens here? And what if it happens tomorrow? Or what if it happens next week? And, this what ifing is all future based and hasn't happened yet. And it may or may not happen, but it's not present moment. And going all
There's
over
a lot of what
past.
ifing. There's a lot of what ifing going on about Brexit as well, isn't there? And about Europe. A lot of what ifing going on about the future of, Britain. I mean, British people are very what if.
When you look, when you look at it, you've got a whole side who are for Brexit and a whole side who are against Brexit, and they're all, one side is saying if Brexit goes ahead, then it's brilliant. One side is saying it's doom, and the other, and on the other side, you've got the antithesis of that. But they can't both be right, But either Brexit is going to happen or it isn't, and when it does happen or doesn't happen, other things will happen or not happen. But to make yourself ill in the present moment when none of it's happened is kind of.
But people listen to the experts, don't they? And people do tend to. Well, people tend to listen to the experts. Well, we're listening to you, Nick. And but I mean, we get these experts drummed up by the government, and they tell us, that it's going to be World War III. Well, actually, that was the government. That was the Prime Minister. Actually, you said that Armageddon or something. I don't know. I mean, just ridiculous. I mean,
you expect the Prime Minister of a country to be an expert at running countries, but they never are. They've generally been to Eton, done the PPP degree, had lots of money, and then end up in power running a country. And they're the last person that should be running a country. Should have someone far more experienced at life than that to run a country, I would have thought. But
you're far too logical for politics.
I mean, that's actually a famous question by Neil deGrasse Tyson. Is he takes a look at Congress and says, So look at the makeup we have in Congress. We have lawyer, businessman, lawyer, businessman, lawyer. Where are the scientists? Where are the farmers? Where are the mechanics?
Well,
where are the plumbers? Where's the rest of life?
You said earlier, Dr. Carson, Ben. But there you go. I mean, how many more do you want?
Well, he's the token self-loathing black guy in the administration. He's the token. He's a black
brain
guy
surgeon.
In the Republican Party. Yeah, he wasn't actually that great a brain surgeon.
Oh no.
He's got so many malpractice suits against him. It's crazy. Yeah,
he was a slasher. He was a slasher, doctor.
He was not good. Not good at his job.
Oh no. President's brain is missing. Yeah. Call
in Ben Carson's replacement because he did it wrong. Now, you're talking about all the way of making yourself sick while engaging in abstract thought, right, Nick?
Yes. Yeah.
So, how do we get better at protecting ourselves from ourselves when we are having stress over higher brain functions that we did not generally use back when we had realistic shot at being attacked by a hungry lion?
Well, we can get better at that. Yeah, it's a really good question, Gary, actually. And the way we can get better at it is to practice present moment thinking or mindfulness, because the practice of that allows us to develop the skill of noticing when we're going off into awfulizing about the future that hasn't happened yet, or getting depressed about a past that we can't do anything about because it's already happened.
Did you say awfulizing?
Yeah, awfulizing.
That is an amazing word. I love that word. I'm going to steal that word.
That's not a real word.
Here's another one. Catastrophizing about the future as well that hasn't happened yet.
I like those words. Those will be in Merriam-Webster next year.
What's that to do with catastrophe sort of thing? Catastrophizing.
Yeah. Amazing deduction.
It's thinking about catastrophes in the future. I love that word. That's a good word.
Yeah.
Anyhow, sorry to interrupt. You were
we catastrophize our introductions on this show quite often.
No.
We have quite a few catastrophized.
No, we actualize catastrophe when it comes to our introductions.
That's it.
So that's not to say that that's not to say that depression or mental illness.
Okay, so Nick, yes, mindfulness. I take it. Oh no, I can't hear you now. I can't hear you. Are you still, Gary?
I'm here.
Maybe it's me.
I'm here. Am I still here?
Nick? No, we're all still here.
Yeah, okay, we're all there. Yeah, go on, carry on. Sorry.
The intro happened again. So, that's not to say that, being depressed or thinking about past events that you can't do anything about is pointless. We are human. We are emotional beings. These things have happened to us. It's not to deny their existence or to pretend that they didn't happen, but mindfulness helps us to be in the present moment and unattach from them emotionally.
So what is mindfulness, though? What really is it?
Well, it's bringing your attention to something that's just present moment, like breathing or breath, like sort of meditating. So it is being mindful. It's actually exactly what the word means. Yeah, mindful. Well, look, there's this myth that
are we not mindful all the time? We're distracted. No. Is that it?
Yeah, we're distracted.
Sorry, I've gone round the houses. Gary, I'm sorry, I've gone round the houses. But Nick, carry on answering Gary's question, please. It was
put down the spliff. Put down the spliff, Ollie. Focus.
I'm trying to be mindful.
Be mindful.
I'm trying to be mindful. Yes.
So the question was, how can we sort of protect ourselves from ourselves, wasn't it? So the practice and the discipline and getting better at being mindful, being present moment practiced, it is that allows us to notice earlier and earlier when we're going off into this future awfulization or catastrophization, or if we're just suddenly, years in the past, feeling awful about stuff that's happened, and if we're not mindful, if we don't practice mindfulness, then our auto response is to just go off into those places of either future thinking and stress and anxiety about stuff that hasn't even happened yet, or getting depressed because we're just lingering in the past in places where we're not anymore. And so that has a,
and that's when the cortisone starts flowing through the system. Our stress hormone.
Yeah.
Cortisol. Yeah.
And that's actually a brain killer. That thins grey matter. And in modern life, where we've got this to get to, that to get to, this deadline to meet, this person to impress, this thing to do, life is hectic for a lot of people. And that underlying level of chronic stress, means that this cortisol is kind of being released all the time. And so you could wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and have that fight flight response that I spoke about, but that was useful in evolutionary terms. But at 3 o'clock in the morning, the actual truth about the present moment is, irrespective of your exam result tomorrow or the date that you're going to go on or whatever, you are in a bed, comfortable, with a pillow under your head, and nothing's actually wrong in that moment. 99% of the time, the present moment is fine. But we get ourselves into a state of anxiety and stress by allowing our minds to go off on this unnecessary journey of thinking about stuff that hasn't even happened. And so
modern life is like that, though. It's completely, the whole concept of capitalism relies on that. It is distraction, isn't it? It's, you need this, you want this, you have to be like this, you don't want to be like that. Not just capitalism, but journalism as well. Propaganda.
Happiness and contentment doesn't sell.
No. It does. It does. No, general election, though.
Actual happiness and contentment don't sell. The promise of those things sells like hotcakes.
Yeah, that's very true.
Which promise to make you happy and content.
Yeah, and
the hotcakes do.
Yeah, hotcakes always make me happy.
See, that's why they sell so well.
Right, and I would say almost always make me happy.
Just ask Waffle Hut. They're very bitter about that.
Do you celebrate Pancake Day, Gary, in the States?
Are you kidding? We shut down every Waffle House in the country on that day. We've been known to burn them down on International Pancake Day. Yeah. Oh yeah. The International House of Pancakes. What's that?
Do you toss, Nick? Do you toss pancakes?
I'm not a pancake man. I tend to.
No.
I can't.
Are you a pancake tosser, Gary?
What do I toss onto my pancakes? That's very, very disgusting, Ollie. You're a gross man. Calling me a pancake tosser. Or are you talking about the pancake batter, which is even more gross?
I like tossing pancakes.
Man, Ollie.
There's nothing wrong with tossing pancakes, and I enjoy pancakes.
Is that like tossing a salad? You're a dirty, dirty, awful man, Ollie. We can't. This is a family-friendly show. We can't be talking
about Pancake Day. It's only Pancake Day.
In my ears in a minute.
Never put any Greek salad into it. So, Nick, I apologize. It doesn't normally get this way. I apologize. Hold on. Okay. Right. So we were talking about mindfulness.
So the way to protect ourselves from ourselves is, it's not to deny that these things are happening, and it's not to pretend that if X happens, then Y may follow. But it's just, not to get so attached to that one possibility out of many possibilities that it makes us have a panic attack or a stress response that's totally unnecessary in the present moment.
How prevalent is how much stress is? So go on, Gary. Your questions are better than mine.
Yeah, the thing of it is, though, that because we no longer have the actual physical present danger of a lion that wants to eat us, and we don't have guns, our brains have evolved more into thinking about future.
We've got the tax man, haven't we? We've got the tax man. He's kind of like a predatory lion.
We have more capacity for abstract thought, which is, while it's not something that's going to hit us with real consequences tonight in bed, we do know that it's going to hit us with real consequences next April.
Yeah.
And we need to figure out now how to do something about that. So
people wonder if they're going to have a pension.
How do we deal with that situation?
Well,
how do we deal with future real consequences that we know are coming?
Well, I'd say we don't know.
Well, we know we got to pay our taxes next spring.
Well, you do,
unless death is coming one day. We know
we don't
real.
Know, we don't know whether or not we're going to get a pension. Really, we don't know whether or not the global economy is going to go.
That's to assume you won't get a pension.
Pass over or not. We don't know. We don't know whether there's going to be a euro, for crying out loud, in Europe within a few years. Now. There are so many things. Look at Greece. The Greeks, they don't know. They have no idea what is going on, really. And probably very close to that in Italy, in Portugal, in Spain to a lesser extent at the moment, I'd say. In Ireland, I mean, there's so many people around the world. That's just Europe. There's obviously loads of this going on around the world. But Nick, I mean, it's just amazing, isn't it? The level of stress, it's pretty intense. And there's more of us on this planet than ever before as well. That is quite unhealthy, isn't it? I mean, there must be some pretty intense studies into this stuff, because stress is the negative, thing that you emit, isn't it? And that you kind of, you wavelength things and all that hippie stuff. So when you've got all that emitting, then that's a problem. That is quite a worry. Is this something that we're really taking seriously enough?
Well, I suppose, the human body is an incredibly versatile and what's the word I want? Tolerant body, and so you don't have one sort of panic attack and die. It's like you don't eat one.
No, but you can have several panic attacks and end up having a heart attack, because that's what stress does.
Or even just a slight degradation of your quality of life.
Yeah, you do.
That's a real thing.
Yeah, that is a real thing, and that's what stress can do. And talking about, I'm not talking about let's just bury our head in the sand and pretend none of this stuff's going on, and that you won't have to pay your taxes next April or January or whatever year your country does it. But to live a whole year in stress about that event coming up,
hold on. Oh no, Nick, I'm sorry, mate. I apologize. I completely cocked up, because I mean that was just awesome. And but we've got a break coming up, I think, just in a sec. So we will be coming back after the break, guys. And
hold that thought.
So
we'll get back to it right when we come back.
Yeah. So hold that thought.
That was getting to be good stuff.
Yeah, it was. It was beginning to be very, very good, and we at last.
Of course, if we just let him finish his point, he might have finished it by now.
Yeah, no, oh no!
When does the break start?
I've no idea. No idea. Hold on.
There we go.
No, that wasn't it. That was me.
Oh, that was you?
Yeah. Oh, this was
Nick
what I
could
was
have made
looking
3
for.
excellent points by now, Ollie.
I know. Hold that thought, Nick. We'll come straight back to that. Oh, blimey. Nearly the weekend, isn't it? You're listening to Revolution Radio, and I never know when the break is, but it is coming up.
Magic to methodically autonomize, vivisect, analyze, examine, study, scrutinize, and extract an essence of reality from a fog of illusion and confusion. You can find me on Studio B every Thursday at 1700 hours Pacific Time. That's 8 p.m. Eastern. No topic taboo, no subject too strange. I strive to take a neutral standpoint during the dissection of the topic at hand. That's Reality Extraction with Mr. Rowe on Revolution Radio.
Yo, yes, indeed, we're back. Okay, all right. So we've got Nick Barker with us, who is a life and mind coach, and Gary, and I'm Ollie, and blah-de-blah-de, jingly-jangly. Okay, Nick, where were you? Because I completely didn't really know what you were talking about. Sorry, but it was something to do with mindfulness, wasn't it? Can you please pick up from where you left off?
I think I was saying that this practice.
We're going to need a bit of a recap as well. You're going to need a recap too. Give us a recap.
Well, the question that Gary posed sort of a while ago before the break was about, you know, how we can protect ourselves from ourselves, sort of having this auto response into awfulizing about the future or getting depressed about the past, because modern life sort of takes us in those directions. And I was just saying that.
How can we remain mindful?
Well, you know.
Is that it?
Yeah. I mean, to live your whole life, present moment, thinking wise is, you know, pretty much not possible unless you're a monk or, you know, sat on top of a pillar and there's nothing else to do. You know, life, I think, as I was saying before the break, you know, being mindful isn't about sticking your head in the sand and ignoring the fact that life is going on about you, and pretending that these important things might be happening, or, you know, it's also not just sticking your head in the sand saying, oh, I don't need to bother about the future, but it's about not attaching to that in such a way that it gives you, you know, a stress response for something that isn't happening now, hasn't happened.
Are you not really talking largely about philosophy and you know, stiff upper lip sort of thing? But then again, stiff upper lip, that was a kind of that was a containment of stress, really, wasn't it? Because sometimes you need to let it out as well. There's different ways that you can do that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you do. That's why I say it's not about denying that this stuff is happening, but I honestly believe that in the present moment, whatever is happening, we can choose how we respond to that. And if I would just give you, you know, an example, we can be stuck in some traffic. And as my dad recounts to me often, that a monk once recounted to him, don't complain about the traffic when you are the traffic. That's just a little aside. But, you know, if we're stuck in traffic and we've got somewhere to get to, you know, two perfectly sort of opposite responses to that could be total meltdown, stress, looking at your watch every 5 minutes, having a panic attack, just feeling in utter despair at being stuck in this traffic. And another response is nothing I can do about it until, you know, when the traffic starts moving again, so will I. Now, the situation is exactly the same. The response is caused by where we go in our minds with that impetus, you know, with that event. So the event might raise some thoughts in our mind, but those thoughts don't have to translate into stressful thinking. They probably are more likely to if we've never practiced mindfulness and don't have a radar for noticing when we're going off into that kind of thing. So what mindfulness helps us do is be better at noticing, oh, look, I'm going off into that awfulizing about the future again. I don't need to do that. I'll come back to the present moment.
All right.
But if we've never done
how
that,
do we develop that radar you're talking about?
By practicing mindfulness, and an easy way is to sort of have someone lead you into mindfulness. And there's loads of stuff out there on YouTube, stuff to help you visualize various things. And that's actually another point I was going to make. Are we still all here? Because my audio went weird then.
No, we're all here. We can hear you.
Are we still all here?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm still here. I'm still here.
I talked about future thinking and awfulizing about the future, but from a performance perspective, sports people visualize kind of future events. Like, Beckham used to visualize in his mind over and over again scoring a goal, from a particular free kick. And actually scientific studies have been done where they've taken a group of people and got them to practice shooting basketballs into a hoop in a court. They've sort of baseline tested them on day one, how good they are at it. And then they've had them practice for an hour a day on the court, actually doing it for a week, an hour a day, and then retested their effectiveness of shooting these balls into hoops. And they've also benchmarked at the beginning another set of people, but just told them to go away and imagine doing it for an hour a day. Just imagine shooting into the hoop.
So that's a bit like chanting, like the Buddhists do, like Nam-myo Renge Kyo, Nam-myo Renge Kyo, Nam-myo, all that.
Might be. But when they've retested these two groups, the improvement is pretty much the same. So mindful, using
Do you think
mind...
that David Beckham did that and he was dreaming about a knighthood?
I don't know.
Apparently he was really annoyed when he didn't get a knighthood. Apparently he swore at somebody and called him a bunch of C's or something.
All right, so back to being mindful.
Sorry.
So
that wasn't very mindful.
This study, Ollie. So this study talked about, we had two groups of people who actually physically practiced for an hour a day, and people who mentally practiced for an hour a day.
And another group who just imagined themselves being on a court practicing shooting basketballs into hoops, and the improvement in both groups was pretty much identical.
That's like Barack Obama, who imagined himself being on a golf course every day, but he actually was. Sorry, go on. Yeah.
No, yeah. So, that's kind of future thinking. It's kind of, in a sense, that's mindfulness, imagination. It's concentrating. Mindfulness is bringing all of your attention to a specific subject in the moment, and for performance development that can be useful, even though it's a kind of positive way of thinking about the future. It
sounds pretty obvious though, Nick. I mean, excuse me. I don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that I am mindful a lot of the time. A lot of the time I should be a lot more mindful than I am, but it sounds pretty obvious, for example, when you're working, or if you're working on some project or whatever it demands your attention, that you're going to, have to be mindful. But do you think that we are so easily distracted, more so than we used to be? I mean, and also, do you think that we have lazier minds, or minds that are more easily if you like, led astray from the point of view of what we're talking about here, having a healthy mind? But devices and what have you, apps all over the place, apps for everything. Do you think that is? Hold on, We had a call then. We had somebody calling in. They just hung up. Yeah. Anyway, that wasn't very mindful. Yeah. 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 I mean, do you, that is a problem, isn't it? I mean, for example, now you drive somewhere. You talk about traffic. You drive somewhere. You've got TomTom or whatever, something, or you got a thing on your phone. It tells you where to go. You don't even have to look at a map anymore.
Ollie,
I mean, an atlas.
Did you just say TomTom?
Sorry, is that very passé?
Wow, you're old. Wow, you're old. That's amazing.
Oh, I don't have any of those things. I was given a TomTom thing when I bought a car, and a TomTom was thrown in with it, but I don't even use it. It doesn't work. Damn thing doesn't work anyway.
It's a drum, isn't it?
Hey?
Yeah, pretty much.
It's a drum, isn't it?
It's a more useful version of a TomTom. Yeah. Google Maps has navigation. Get into the modern age, Ollie. You'll be okay.
I can't believe that somebody just called us and then hung up. It was our first call in about 5 weeks.
Maybe their phone got cut off.
Yeah. If you're listening and you just called, I want you to feel
rather than being on the phone
guilty
to the radio.
Yeah. You know,
but
I'll tell you what.
Go ahead and call back.
Nick, you're going to lead us in meditation tonight, aren't you?
I can do a bit of mindfulness with everybody. Yeah.
Well, that would be nice. What do you reckon, Gary?
I was hoping we'd get around to that. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Well, Nick, I mean, why don't we do that? Because then we might have a better idea of, what on earth you're talking about.
Because we've been talking about it. We need to just do it and then talk about it afterwards.
What do you think?
So, I'll just do I think that'd be a good idea.
All right. So we do like 10 minutes worth? What do you think?
Well,
10 minutes?
We'll start with maybe 2 or 3. Just
all right.
Lead us on. Throng. So
lovely.
So yeah,
actually, we've got 45 minutes. We just I'll tell you what, I'll go for making kappa. Good. Come on, Nick. Lead us in prayer, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to intro it or whatever. So,
well, I'll intro it, and I'll just say that if anyone's listening to this show, operating heavy, dangerous machinery or driving at the moment, then don't follow my instruction to shut your eyes, and stay fully mindful of what you're doing if you're driving or operating dangerous machinery, and you can follow this on the recording that you guys post up afterwards, don't you? So
we'll be doing an archive. Yeah.
So otherwise, I'd invite you, if you're in a position to do so, to just allow yourself to close your eyes and just maybe just bring your attention to notice the chair that you're sitting on, or the place where you're sat, or if you're not sat and you're standing, just bring your attention and notice your feet coming into contact with the floor and the feeling that has coming up through your feet. And then just turn your attention to your breath as it comes in and goes out of your body. The breath is quite amazing. It's something like 15,000 breaths a day, and pretty much 99.99% of those we don't notice. But just in this moment, in this present moment, you can bring your attention to that action of breathing that your body just gets on with by itself, moment by moment, every day. And invariably you may find your mind wandering off to other things, but you can, in this moment, just notice that that's happening, and just let that thought, whatever it is, go off, and once again bring your attention back to the breath. You might notice things about that breath that you don't normally notice, that it's perhaps cooler on the way in, warmer on the way out. You could become curious about where perhaps the in-breath stops and the out-breath starts, or the other way round. Or in fact, is it just one continuous breath? You can also bring your attention to the fact that that in-breath in this moment brings oxygen to your lungs, and in that moment oxygenates your blood that goes around your body and brings life to every cell. So much is happening with your breath just in this one moment. And again, if other thoughts come and seem to be attracting your attention away from that, you can just notice them again and let them go, unattach. And again, just practice bringing your attention just back to breathing. You might notice how your body moves around each breath. Obviously, your chest or your belly move out as you breathe in. Perhaps you'll notice other muscles, other feelings through the chair, through your feet, as each breath comes and goes. So you can just focus your mind, bring your full attention just in this moment to what each breath is doing. And just allow that to continue for a few moments. And whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes again.
Wow. That was awesome. That was fantastic. Gary, come on.
Even
wake
my
up.
chickens were quiet. Even my chickens were quiet during that. That was amazing.
So that's just
great.
that's an example of guided mindfulness. And if I may use that opportunity to plug my book on audible.com, which is mindfulness and relaxation scripts. There's half a dozen on there, both with binaural beats in the background and without. But
Binaural beats.
Binaural? What is that?
Binaural beats is like a wavelength thing. It's two sound waves set at certain frequencies that induce theta waves in your brain to give you, and theta waves in the brain brings
Theta waves.
Theta.
Wave.
Theta.
What a theta wave?
Like alpha, beta, theta.
Yeah.
Greek letter, Ollie.
There is no
Theta.
feta. There's only feta cheese. Feta cheese waves.
Cheese
We don't have
waves.
feta cheese waves.
We can call them.
You know,
waves.
Ollie, that explains a lot about your thought processes. Your brain is functioning on cheese waves.
Oh,
Nice. Okay.
I'm surprised,
All right. Very
I'm
good.
surprised
Very good.
cheese waves doesn't exist as a product somewhere. I mean, that's just got marketing
Well,
written all over it. Cheese waves.
Yeah, it has just been founded. Trademark Jingly-Jangly Cheese Waves. 3/9/2017, 2:18 p.m. Going out over the radio, crossing international and state boundaries. Therefore, it is officially trademarked now. Carry on.
we're going
Anyway,
out over the cheese
but-
waves.
But so
You
talk
can
about
search
the
for
all right. So Nick. Talking about
binaural
these
beats.
binaural waves and theta waves in the brain, is that anything to do with this thing that I'm hearing about online called SMR? Can you tell me-
ASMR.
ASMR, yes. That's
That's cool.
What is that
ASMR.
stuff? I have
Yeah,
no
I've
Yeah.
been
idea
watching
what
some of
is
that
about.
recently.
Yeah,
That's,
lots of cute young birds wearing really skimpy tops, and it doesn't matter what they do. I'll tell you what, it is the YouTube can get quite racy, Oh, the ASMR thing. Nah, but there's some good stuff as well.
And you watch that,
but really, what is it? What is ASMR?
Some of the marketing techniques. Sorry, what is it, Nick? What is it? Yeah.
So
we'll come on to the marketing of it.
When you watch that, Ollie, you're ready with your cheesy waves, are you?
I got my cheese waves going full tilt.
Yeah.
Oh.
So the theta waves. I actually don't know. I don't know if this is correct, but I read somewhere or heard somewhere once, but I didn't multiply verify it, so it might not be true. But it's a good story anyway. That the theta waves is something that a certain branch of meditative monks spend years and years and years in meditation to produce the same effect.
Really? Is that what the Gregorian chant is all about?
I don't know whether they're theta waves or not, but with Audacity, you can just create theta waves immediately.
With Audacity, what you mean? The sound suite?
Yeah.
It's
you
a wicked.
Create theta waves.
Well, yeah, you can create theta waves. You can go online and find out what they are.
How do you do that? How do you do that? How do you create a theta wave?
It's just two opposing frequencies. I can't remember what the hertz of the frequencies are, but
right.
You just basically, there are two different frequencies of sound that you put together, and together they cause the brain to go into to release theta waves, which produces an ultra relaxed and can produce a trance relaxed state. So I've on my audio book, mindfulness.
Well, I just got a bit trancey there, Nick. What about you, Gary? Did you get a bit trancey?
I
thought it was just
definitely. I'm not sure whether it was the cheese waves or the ASMR really racy looking imagery that I'm seeing, or whether it was actually just being mindful in the moment, which pretty much is mainly what it was.
But I mean, maybe you can give me some feedback there. When I was doing that mindfulness thing, did you find it that your mind was wandering and that you had to keep bringing it back, or I
was focusing on the way that the moment between inhaling and exhaling.
Yeah, that's a weird one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's because if it can either be a precise moment where it switches over, crosses a border between inhaling and exhaling, or it can be like a pause.
Yeah.
And
it tends to be a pause after
blur that line between inhaling and exhaling, and have that be more of a loop rather than a ping pong.
Exhale longer. After exhaling, you tend to exhale. You tend to pause for a bit longer as well.
Interesting.
Yeah. But what I find interesting philosophically is, like, from the moment of birth, where we, breathe air for the first time in our life, is that one continuous breath until the day we die? Because we talk about an in and out breath, and some mindfulness stuff that I do involves trying to count the breaths. Say count the in breath as one and the out breath as two, but there isn't really there isn't really a line in between them. Like you're saying, Gary, sometimes it appears to be a switch, but other times it's a curve. It's just kind of this continuous wave, isn't it? Not a cheesy wave, but a continuous wave of breath from the moment we're born until we pop our clogs. So,
well, I'll tell you what. My feedback on that was that I found it genuinely very, very relaxing, and I fell asleep, and I had a nice little snooze. No, I didn't fall asleep. It really, really relaxed me, Nick. It really did. It was fantastic. And at the end, when it was clearly the end, and it's like, right, open your eyes. That's it. You've had it. I knew that somebody had to say something or what have you, and I didn't want to really. I just
no. It is a kind of,
I have done one or two of these mindfulness things on YouTube, and there are some great ones. Have you got a YouTube channel? You said demanding voice.
No, I haven't set that up.
You've got a lovely voice. You've got a lovely voice for that. You've got a nice bit of gravelly sort of stuff going on there for for basically relaxing. And the voice is an instrument.
Yeah, it is. And you've reminded me that I need to set up that YouTube channel, so I will.
Yeah, Nick, it would be great. It'd be fantastic. But
the first job
it's
was
amazing.
getting this mindfulness and relaxation scripts audio book out. That was so.
Can people get that? So where's the best place to get that?
You can look it up on Audible. Just look up mindfulness. Audible. Yeah.
So it's not on Amazon as well. Although
it is on Amazon. Yeah, it is. It's on Kindle, Amazon, and Audible. They're all connected, aren't they? So
I don't know. I don't really. I try not to use Amazon, but
Amazon, iTunes, and Audible.
Right.
That perfect triangle of audio.
What's it called again, Nick?
It's called Mindfulness and Relaxation Scripts. And basically,
and so that was a script that you just gave us, that you just delivered.
Yeah, I made that up on the spot as I went along. No two are the same. I don't like using scripts in my work. There are people who do hypnosis using scripts, but I tend to prefer working with the person who's in front of me. They're all. I mean, I've done these as a way of people being able to access different types of mindfulness, because I've done one on there that's breathing. There's another one on there that I've done as a sort of head to toe mindfulness. So you just bring your attention first to all aspects of your head.
I've done one of those. They're
just amazingly relaxing.
So that's a long one, isn't it? These are all of them are long.
Yeah, that's the longer one, the head to toe one. Then there's another one that's just a mindfulness about sort of taking yourself to a beach and just sort of visualizing yourself lying on a nice warm beach in the sand and going for a swim. Sort of
nice.
a visualization one. There's one that's sort of where you can imagine yourself taking on the grandeur and the strength of a mountain, and sort of you and a mountain becoming one. And all these themes are quite common, and you'll find other ones on YouTube or wherever people have done similar mindfulness stuff about similar subjects, but they're just ones that I've sort of used for myself and with clients, and that I just decided to write some scripts. And then
do you ever throw in the odd googly, kind of like they're lying on the beach and there's all, relaxing and that's right. A giant walrus starts romping up the beach and
the theta waves
rolling over. You probably
just when you thought it was safe to go back into the SMR. Theta waves, 2 cheese waves.
There are some characters on ASMR that are really cool. There's one that I really like, and I'm going to give him a plug because I don't like most of them, to be honest with you. Most of them I think are a bit silly. Some of them are really good. A lot of them, they are, as I say, very attractive young girls, sort of, I don't know, early 20s, something like that. And they wear tight tops and pretend to be experts at cranial examinations.
Really?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not joking. You type into YouTube ASMR cranial examination and see what comes up. It's just mad, I'll tell you. Anyway, not anal, cranial, cranial. Okay. But this guy I listen to, he's fantastic, and he's relaxing ASMR. So you should have to check him out. Relaxing ASMR.
Is he the guy that? Is he the guy I was watching recently? Who I was just watching him colour something in.
Yeah, he does stuff like that. I mean, it's a bit like
amazingly watchable, isn't it?
It is.
Isn't it
Yeah.
amazingly watchable to watch someone else colouring in a picture? It's probably not for OCD sufferers because they'll like get bothered that he's gone outside the line or something.
Like, what do they
that.
call those mandolins or something? Those things that people colour, and it's a bit of a craze now. Those really detailed, like colour things for kids, but adults do. But Bob Ross, have you heard of Bob Ross, Nick?
You mean no. A mandala?
A Mandela, that's it. Yeah, Gary. Yeah. Gary, have you heard of Bob Ross? Bob Ross is
Bob
like
Ross,
one of
the Happy Trees guy. Yeah, everybody knows him.
Cute little happy. Oh, well, he did this big colouring show for years and years, but he just had this charm about him and this way that he spoke. He's very softly, and with no background music or anything, just his brushstrokes, and he became a bit of a legend. And now is heralded as a kind of a godfather to ASMR, which is where people talk really quietly like this, just try to put you to sleep, or maybe they're doing something with sand or something, but making these sounds which are really beautiful and quite intimate, and it's a wonderful thing. And this guy Bob Ross is heralded as kind of a godfather to it because he spoke that way and was so beautifully softly spoken. And and loads of people do it now. Loads of people. Check out cranial examinations and see what comes up. Anyway,
wow.
Yeah.
There is such a thing as erotic ASMR, apparently.
Oh, I haven't seen that one yet.
I know a short spelling of that.
Hold on a second. I'll try to look at you. I'm not being very mindful. Okay, right. So yes, Nick,
phoning in?
Do you? Pardon,
Is anyone else phoning in?
No, nobody. No one's calling in. No, nobody's calling in, mate. We had our chips. We had our first caller in about 5 weeks in the first half, and 4 rings, and they were too impatient. They could have waited another.
You let them get 4 rings?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did 5 or 6, maybe actually. Maybe 6.
No wonder they hung up.
Well, Nick was talking.
Picking up the phone, live radio. You gotta let them in.
I'm so out of practice. I don't know how to do it. I don't know. We don't get enough callers. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, everybody calling in, everybody listening, go ahead and call in. We'd love to hear from you. Talk to us about mindfulness and how you do it.
Yeah, that'd be nice. That'd be nice.
What's that number again there, Ollie?
What's the number? Oh, blimey. Oh, I don't know the number. I'll tell you what, though. If anybody wants to go to the website, they can find the number because it's on the Studio B tab. It's at the top of the page. If you're listening to this, then the number's there. So there's no excuse.
That number is 310-421-4053. That's 310-421-4053. Go ahead and call, guys. We're here for you.
You might as well tell them to donate. Go on, do that.
And while you're there, click on the donate button over there at freedomslips.com. Help us keep the lights on and the servers running.
Nice.
Revolution Radio.
Yeah, there you go. Right,
at
Nick.
freedomslips.com.
That's the one. Yeah. So basically, this is. I can see a burgeoning market now. The online presence for basically trying to relax is just enormous, amazing. I mean, just YouTube alone. Actually, I don't know anything outside of YouTube, to be honest with you. But I mean, on YouTube, it's massive. It's massive, so it must be massive, across the board, pretty much. No?
Yeah. There's there's so much stuff out there.
They're
so
all
much stuff out there that's available for free on YouTube. I mean, there's a 9-hour YouTube video of Tibetan singing bowls.
That's right. There's that 10-hour video of that guy out of Family Guy going giggity 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 giggity. Sorry, that's not ASMR there.
Family Guy, is it?
Yeah, nothing to do with ASMR or mindfulness.
There's a 10-hour version of that one. Wow.
I think so. Yeah.
My favorite one is Epic Sax Guy, though. Epic Sax Guy is the best of the 10-hour videos.
Yeah.
What's he done?
What's he done?
No,
Sorry. He's just some Ukrainian sax player in another band, but he was making these epic moves while he was playing the saxophone, and somebody just looped that into a 10-hour video of Epic Sax Guy. Good stuff. Good stuff.
I thought it was one of those Clinton videos surfacing or something. Yeah. No, right. Because, he but anyway, yeah. So, yes, Nick, so it is a big market, but yes, there's a lot of people that seem to be doing this. Well, you have private clients, don't you? That's how you, because online there's loads of this that's available for people.
Yeah.
For free.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the free stuff can definitely, help people switch off. There's loads of apps out there as well, isn't there? Mindfulness apps and.
I was going to say, because most people can't afford to hire a mindfulness advisor. Or what exactly is your job title? What do you call yourself?
Well, I call myself a life coach and.
Oh, there you go.
NLP practitioner and hypnotherapist, because I use all of the.
NLP. Hold on, NLP. Yeah. What's that?
Okay. Neuro-linguistic programming.
Right.
So neuro-linguistic programming.
Neuro-linguistic programming was a set.
I thought that was CNN. No, sorry. What is that?
It's the name given to it was two guys, John Grinder and Richard Bandler, who basically sort of reverse engineered or deconstructed some of the work of the 20th century psychiatrist, hypnotist Milton Erickson. And they sort of worked out some of the stuff he did and turned it into a set of tools that you can use to sort of reset the mind. And for various things like phobias or habits, like smoking, nail biting, stuff like that, rather than needing hypnosis or 6 sessions with a life coach, you can sort of reset this stuff pretty quick. And on my website, nicholasbarkercoaching.com, just get another plug in there if I may.
Go on, mate.
Have at it, buzz market all of it.
I offer a service on there to sort of fix pretty much any habit
phobias
that you've got within an hour, even if you've been doing it for years.
Really?
Because the theory goes that there are two sort of innate evolutionary phobias that we're born with. One is a fear of sudden loud bangs and noises, and another is a fear of falling, i.e. sort of that thing that wakes you up if you ever sort of feel like you're going to fall out of bed. And that's again, evolutionarily, these things kept us alive long enough to procreate and get to this point. But every other phobia, like a fear of spiders or mice or bananas or whatever it might be, is learned, and it's
bananas.
It's often learned in a split second by some event in the past that you may be conscious or not conscious of, but a coping mechanism happened at that point, and that's the system you use. The phobia is the system that you use from that moment on. And the brain is really, really good at putting things into boxes and sort of generalizing stuff. So if you think about maybe you're a toddler sat on the kitchen floor and your mum goes to open a cupboard and there's a big spider in there and she's already scared of spiders, so she jumps back and shrieks out in fear of this spider that she's just seen. You as a toddler, subconsciously you think, mum's boss, she's my protector, she knows what's best for me, she thinks that thing there is scary, so I need to think that thing there is scary. That's how this stuff gets passed on. And
when I was a kid, I used to have one of those sort of Ladybird ABC book things, and it was animals, and there was the page with the snake on it, and I got to that page. I knew I was coming up to that page because it was the S, and so I always had to. I don't know. I always had to like really brace myself before I could turn the page to look at the snake, and then I went over to or I just jumped over to. But I mean, just ridiculous. And I think it was probably because I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I reckon I was probably given some phobias from my parents or whatever. I don't know.
But all that stuff is going on in your mind. And, here's another interesting thing. If spiders per se were scary, if the object itself was scary, then we'd all be scared of them. But we're not all scared of spiders. So it can't be the object that's scary. It must be the thoughts that we have about that thing that either make it scary to us or don't. And so if you change
I'll tell you what,
you change the experience.
I often think it must be pretty scary living in Australia with the number of, but that's irrational, really, isn't it? Because the chances of you getting, but look at Steve Irwin. I mean, he didn't end up. Sorry, that was sad. That was terrible.
Yeah.
Hey, but yeah, I mean, it is, isn't it? I mean, there are some places. I guess I used to feel really lucky that I was brought up in England, where we never had, the most dangerous creature we have is a goat, and we have earthquakes of about 2 on the Richter scale, and we only get one of them once every 25 years. We get a bit of rain, but yeah, I did used to think that I was quite lucky. I don't know. Maybe that was. Oh, I don't know. But, yeah.
Just thoughts.
Phobias. So you can get rid of people's phobias. Is that using that technique where? Oh no. Yeah.
Well, there are several NLP tools that you can use for it.
How does that compare with hypnosis, Nick? Well, what does this stand for again?
NLP is it generally involves some neuro-linguistic programming it stands for. And so just to finish off the spider story,
Sorry.
That phobia of that spider was learnt in that instant where mum, showed you to be scared of spiders. But ever since that day, you've been playing that movie in your mind that spiders are scary, and anything that actually looks like a spider is going to be scary. So later in life, when you're an adult and you walk into a room and there's a light-coloured suite in the living room, and you see a black thread on the arm of the sofa, out the corner of your eye, you sort of jump back, and you're jumping back from a cotton thread.
That's right.
The brain has compartmentalised anything that might be spider you need to be wary of. And so
that actually points out, and that shows the danger of fear.
Yeah.
And how it can be used as such an effective tool. Yeah. Sorry, carry on, Nick. Carry on.
In media, definitely. Our minds don't work any differently because it's a news program. So that stuff's going on every day and being pumped in every day, and hence mindfulness is important more and more every day to just keep yourself from, catastrophizing about future events that haven't happened yet, but which the mainstream media wants you to be fearful of. But going back, so because that phobia was learnt in an instant, there are various tools in NLP that allow you to sort of hit a reset button and just mean that the brain stops using that pathway and uses a new one. And it can feel quite disorientating to begin with, because you might be in a situation soon after having been freed of that phobia, and
when you should have been,
the conscious mind is thinking, I ought to be feeling scared now, but I don't. So it's an interesting.
So a bit of Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, Stockholm syndrome with your own phobia, with yourself. Yeah, but that's an interesting, area as well. Is that one of the questions I want to get an answer from with my clients is, do they really want to change? Because you have to want the change rather than just sort of think,
that's it, isn't it?
This has been going on for ages and ages. I really ought to, or I really should. You've got to want it
It's not the same.
And because we keep doing these things because they do kind of give us a hit back. In fact, I think there's some recent, I don't have a reference for it, I'll look it up and get it to you after the show, but there is I think there's some recent studies been done with human lab rats that show that there is an element of a tiny bit of endorphin released in worrying. So there is this kind of
well, I suppose there is in arguing as well, but
there is a kind of
that's very interesting. That explains a lot about so many people I know. They actually get off on worrying. That's very worrying.
I think I'm going to have to worry about that. I'm not getting. That's not doing it for me. Yeah, tell you, just can't get the drugs pumping through the brain. Go on.
There's another point I think is important to make about the sort of thinking and thoughts thing, is that thoughts are, and I kind of alluded to this earlier on, but thoughts are, they're involuntary. They're just going to come at you every day. Maybe 70, 100,000 thoughts a day go across the cinema screen of our minds. And there's nothing to be self-judgmental about with those, whatever they are. They just turn up. Did I give my analogy earlier about the ducks, or was that talking to you before the show?
No, you didn't. You mentioned it before the show.
Okay, so to give that analogy, if you've ever been to one of those fairgrounds where you've got that game where the ducks are just going around in this pool of water and they've got a hook in their head, and then you pay your money and you get given a stick with a loop on the end, and the purpose of that game is for you to hook the duck and win a prize. Well, if you take that analogy to thoughts and thinking, the thoughts are just there like these ducks. They're just going round and round and round. But their purpose, in effect, is to have you hook them and go off into the story. So in relation to what I've been talking about before, those ducks are like the headlines in a newspaper, or the headlines on the news, or they're like, so-and-so doesn't like you, or did I leave the gas on, or what if I've left the gas on, or what if I go out driving today and have an accident, or blah, blah, whatever those thoughty ducks are, they're just going to bob up all the time. That's the nature of thoughts. They just come. But with practice, I believe, others don't agree with me, but I believe, and my experience is with practice, that you can choose to put the hooking stick down and not hook them and go off into that, future awfulization or past regret or whatever. You can just stay in the moment and notice, oh, look, there's a thought about that. I don't need to go off, and I can just stay present moment and bring my attention back to breathing or whatever.
How did you get into this, Nick? Because you didn't used to do this, did you?
No.
You changed career. You are a living example of what you preach, I have to say. Pardon?
About 45 times I've changed my career.
How did you get into this? Because, you have, in the last 10 years, really, or 15 years, you have had an enormous life change, haven't you? Quite aside from living on... Anyway, how did you do that?
Well, you knew me when I wasn't so well, didn't you? And I kind of turned that around. Well, I suppose it was born out of doing some coaching. I was doing some project management for a multimedia company, And then that turned into a project with IKEA, where I was actually coaching some people, and that got me really, really interested in coaching because I hadn't kind of done it before. And
wow,
but the role
and
involved doing that, and actually, I think this is a really important thing. I don't know whether it's the same in America, Gary, but in the UK, I would say 80-90% of people don't understand what coaching is. They think life coach means someone's going to come along and tell you what to do. And I suppose in the sense of sports coaching, a lot of the time that is someone noticing, or a lot of the way sports coaching is done, I would say. I know people who don't coach, who coach kind of more my way, but coaching to people, people tend to think that that's going to be someone observing them and then going, oh yes, I know what's wrong with you. You need to do this, 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 and this, and then you'll be okay. A lot of people have that view of what coaching is, but coaching.
I would imagine that there is some of that, but that's not what I generally think of when I think of life coaching. No,
I think Americans kind of understand it a bit better than we do, or maybe I'm completely wrong and I just didn't understand it. But anyway, coaching is that understanding that the person you're who's in front of you is the expert of themselves, and
yeah, that's right. There's a lot to be said for that, isn't there?
Coaching starts with listening. One of the exercises, whenever I do my workshops and stuff like that, one of the exercises I get people to do is one of the first exercises I ever did in my coach training, which is to get people into pairs where they just have to listen to each other for 5 minutes each way without interrupting. And you were talking about distractions earlier, Ollie.
I'm not very good at that. Sorry.
We know, Ollie. That's
prime example. And it's like 25 years ago, 30 years ago, we didn't have mobile phones and we didn't have internet, so you couldn't be walking around and get phoned up. You could just go for a kind of mindful walk or sit at home and read a book or whatever. But now when we're on the computer doing something, we've got all these, like, this is flashing up, that's flashing up, this alarm's going off. We're constantly interrupted. And actually, we learn an expectation that we are going to be interrupted. And so what the amygdala does, which is the stress part of the brain, and it's the only bit that grows if you're constantly stressed, the amygdala part of the brain goes, it kind of the response it produces when you're having a conversation with someone is that you think, right, I'm bound to get interrupted, so I've got to try and get out the best thing that I've got to say first. And invariably, it never is the best thing, the first thing you say. But you're expecting to get interrupted, so you just want to get something out. What you find happens when you're listened to without interruption is that the amygdala opens up, and that's where problems come from. And so coaching starts with listening with absolute attention to the person in front of you, listening to understand rather than listening to react.
Waiting for your turn to speak.
Yeah,
as they say.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. Yeah, I apologise to both of you. We are coming up to the end of the show.
Speaking of waiting for our turn to speak, yeah.
Oh man,
starting to interrupt us.
You asked me how I got into it, and I went off on a big story there about how it was coaching. But coaching got me into it first, and then I added NLP and hypnosis to that. And I think it's a marvelous set of tools to have, and it's an incredibly rewarding set of tools to use to see the change, the positive change that brings to other people who a lot of who have been trapped for years and years and years in a perpetual, seeming perpetual cycle of unhelpful thinking. And on my website, one of the banners on the
Nick, we're gonna have to go, mate.
Carousel thing is change your thinking, change your life.
Nick, what's your site again?
NicholasBarkerCoaching.com.
NicholasBarkerCoaching.com. Big cheers, Nick. Big cheers. Well, that is another show, and Gary Branson, thank you so much, mate.
Thank you.
Big cheers to everybody at Revolution Radio. Ollie Connolly here in Spain. We'll be back next week, me and Gary. Mike Harris coming up. Oh no! I'll tell you what. I'm going to get the timing right. I'm going to get the timing right. There is an ad break coming up. We could have. Oh, yeah. I didn't need to interrupt Nick at all, did I?
Not a bit.
Absolutely.
Well, hey, let's end the story with a little bit of levity in its own strange way. There's going to be a real-life Hunger Games television show coming out of Siberia in the next few months. The producers of the show are saying that it's going to be a reality TV show on a remote Siberian island with like 2,000 cameras placed around the island. Players will be armed with knives and could face 9 months of hell as they tackle bears, wolves, and vicious gnats on the Ob River and its surrounding wilderness. Organizers of the controversial show say they will not intervene with contestants should horrific scenes such as rape, murder, or even the birth of a baby. None of that will cause the show to be interrupted. It's just going to go live for 9 months. It's going to be bizarre. Welcome to humanity.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Gary, Nick, big cheers, guys. This is really it now. This is it. We're off. Ciao.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio.